Hi everyone. So today I'm going to talk about SEO link building, how to get powerful backlinks in 2023. For those of you who watched my brother's presentation right before, his was more of an overview of SEO, and this we're going to dive into some specifics, which is link building. But first, just a few minutes on a quick story. So I started playing around with websites around 20 years ago. And naturally, after making websites, the natural question comes, hey, how do I actually get people to visit this website? And that's really where I explored SEO. And not for nothing, as a kid, looking at the different ways to get visitors to your website, a lot of it is paid. I didn't really have a credit card back then, right? That was an option. So naturally, that geared me towards, hey, can I actually work on this without paying any money and doing things organically and getting traffic from that? And I was, and that's really what led to a lot of other things. But before that happened, I went to university, and there was no digital marketing degree then. There is now. So I said, hey, maybe I'll actually become a chef. And I got into a school for hotel management, Cornell University, and it was a really good school for that. And I said, hey, maybe digital isn't my thing. Again, it wasn't a thing back then. It wasn't even like a term that was thrown around. But then really quickly, when doing this, I realized, hey, this is not my passion. I don't want to do this, which really led me to, hey, if I want to do things that I thought was a hobby back then, let me actually see if I could turn into a business. And when I was still in university, I started a company called BacklinkBuild. And that came from, again, before I made my own websites, and it was like funny websites, and it was websites about MySpace, and I got them to the top of Google, and I said, hey, what if I take this piece, getting high on Google, which I started being really good at, and what if I actually sell that as a service to guys actually running businesses and companies? Because I was in college back then, I couldn't do all the other steps, and I said, hey, what if I help companies with just this little step? So I came up with a company called BacklinkBuild, and it specialized in link building, that really small, not small, sizable aspect of SEO. And a lot of our clients were actually not businesses directly back then, but we actually white labeled services. So we ended up working with clients like PokerStars and Lexus and all of these really big brands that, again, I wasn't necessarily directly with. There was a middle agency in between, but ultimately we worked with these really, really big clients. And this is a Wayback Machine. So this is, let's see, what year is that? 2019. No, I'm just kidding. 2009. There we go. 2009. So over 13 years ago is really when I started going to backlinks and link building and SEO and selling it as a service. And back then, Google actually released, right now it's private, but back then Google actually told you your authority. It was called PageRank. So every website had, or every web page even, not just website, had a page rank that Google released and said, and it was out of 10, and said, hey, maybe CNN is a page rank of 9, maybe Macy's is a page rank of 8, and if you just made a website, it said page rank of 0. And right now, that's actually private, so Google still has this, but it doesn't release it. And now all these SEO software try to guess on it, and they call it like authority, or your domain score, your domain power, and basically that's all of these other third-party software and things trying to guess at this number right here that used to be public, it wasn't, or it isn't anymore. So then I graduated college a year early because I said, hey, I don't want to do this cooking stuff anyway. I want to go out, and I finally got some cash flow from that business. And I said, hey, I actually want to open up a digital marketing agency. And went from just link building to SmartSites, and I started with my brother. I called him up. He was working at Publicis at the time, which is the top 4 marketing company in the world. And much to our parents' dismay, I said, hey, Alex, quit your job, start this with me, here are my numbers, I think we could do really good, now's the time. And my parents definitely weren't happy about it. They're like, what are you, they're yelling at me, what are you doing? It's bad enough that you're doing this, you're taking your brother with you, that's a nice, 6-figure full-time job in the city. But nonetheless, he went. And we started what now is called SmartSites, and it's been very successful. We've been in the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies for 6 years. We're going to get in again, so it'll be 7. We're one of Adweek's top 75 fastest growing agencies. And all in all, you can look it up, we have over 1,000 5-star reviews. We have over 350 full-time employees. And while we now do other services too, not just SEO, SEO still remains one of our staples. and link building remains one of the staples inside SEO that we focus on. So here's what we're going to cover today. First, I'm going to go over the importance of backlinks and maybe define backlinks a little bit to make sure that everyone's on the same page here. We're going to look at things that I sold 13 years ago and say, hey, what does it look like now? Because a lot of the things with SEO, at least people are scared of is, man, this stuff changes so fast, right? This changes every month, every quarter. How do you keep up with this? And because of that kind of like risk factor, a lot of people shy away from doing it at all. They're saying, hey, listen, we're going to learn this, we're going to do this year, next year. Google changes into a whole, other game, and because of that, they don't even start. So we're going to look at, hey, 13 years ago, that's a long time ago, the backlinks we're getting then, do the same ones work now, or are they different? We're also going to look at just my favorite 10 techniques for 2023, and I picked ones out that work for most niches, because I know we have a big array of niches here. So out of the ones I'm going to share, definitely at least a few of them will work for your niche as well. And then we're also going to talk about at the end just ChatGPT, how that's changing search, and specifically for link building. Can you use it? How can you use ChatGPT for link building? Before I go in, any questions? Cool. I'll jump right in. Speaking of ChatGPT, I asked it to define what backlinks are. So again, for those of you who might not know, when I talk about backlinks or link building, I'm talking about other third-party websites, other websites linking to you. A lot of times that might be confused. Some people say, hey, links are important, and they're talking about the links inside your website. So hey, you create an article on your website, you want to make sure that other pages on your website link to that article. If it's a big website, you want to make sure that's very semantic, you're linking it in the right places. Not what we're talking about here though, we're going to focus on backlinks. Some people call it external links. The process of getting backlinks is often called link building, and again, that's the focus of the presentation today. Why is it important? It's important to us because it's important to Google, right? You could get referral traffic from links, and that's depending on your niche and depending where the links are from. That's very important. That itself could give you a return on investment. But most cases, when people do this, they actually want to get higher on Google. And we want to get higher on Google because so many people use Google. Over 90% of all online experiences start through Google. So if you have a website and you want to be found, again, Google is really that main source. If you could get on Google, that's really more important than anything else. And even the websites that you're getting traffic from, these other websites, a lot of times that user story, the user history actually starts from Google. So they go on Google, they click this website, maybe they get to yours. So even where you're buying traffic, that original source many times is Google. So if you're not doing this, the company that you're paying for is probably doing this to get high in Google, to get that initial traffic that later gets filtered out to you. Again, there's some more stats here that I'm not necessarily going to read, but you could take a picture if you want to read them later. Just shows how important Google actually is. And if you are in this room and decide to go to this presentation, probably you know what's important, and that's why you're here. Okay. Okay. Now we know a lot of people use Google. Now it's also important not to only be on Google, but to be on top of Google, because by far the highest click-through rates on Google is all the way on top, right? If you're on the second page and you're third page, you're getting nothing, right? So you could have that same page, right, as everyone else, and if you're on that second page on Google results, you're getting nothing, versus if you're on the top. So it's important not only to be on Google, but to be all the way on top, and everything else is just really exponentially less important. And now we look at how much is links a factor in this. And you'll see lots of numbers floating around. And again, for those of you who attended Alex's session, he talked a little bit about this. What percent factor is it? But the bottom line is a lot of these are guesses, right? A lot of these are other experts, taking a survey. And I know because I've taken these same surveys, and you feel, oh, I think it's 20%, I think it's 10%, and they come out with some number. And but I will show you, I'll prove, in two ways. I think that the importance of backlinks is really underestimated. So separate from these pie charts, and I think all these pie charts just misrepresented, quite frankly, and maybe I'll come back to that later. But the importance of backlinks is underestimated, and I'll prove it. First, I'll prove by saying the other stuff is pretty easy. I don't know, maybe there's some cybersecurity specialists out there who might argue with me that site security is not easy. And okay, you're right, it's not easy. But the bottom line is, a lot of these things nowadays, more and more people just have, right? So if you start a site and you go on WordPress and you choose a popular theme, or you go on Shopify and you choose a popular theme, chances are it's mobile friendly. Chances are it's going to load really fast. Chances are hopefully it's not hacked. There's nothing malicious there. You have the SSL certificate, right? Your on-page stuff is important, but that stuff like, hey, you have a keyword, make sure it's in the heading, make sure it's in the URL, make sure you have all the right meta tags there, make sure the site structure is there. Again, very important in those pie charts. You see it as a very, very big piece of the pie. But a lot of these things, that's almost like the starting point already, right? It's like if you think of this as a race, right? Before, you could do this stuff and maybe get a few links and you're already ahead of the pack. But right now, everyone's already starting in, meter 10. Because again, you get a WordPress site, and it already has all this stuff, right? It already has the on-page, the site security, the speed, the mobile friendliness. So what else is left is the content, is the links. So again, to go back to the pie chart, the way I think the better way to represent it is, first it's a checklist. Here's all the stuff you need to have. Make sure your site loads on mobile, make sure it loads fast, make sure it's not hacked, right? Obviously, right? And then what's left, it's the content, it's the links. That's really the only two pieces of the puzzle, especially when you're looking at competitive keywords that are important. And one more thing to show you how important backlinks actually are, if you go and you actually see the number of links for those top guys, the first position, the second position, those most important position, they have the most links. So again, people who say, links aren't very important right now, maybe 11%. What does that mean? If you go to any important keyword, any high value keyword, and you look at a tool and you say, hey, how many links do those top spots have? They always have like the most links. Not just quantity, also quality, but their link score, the value of their links, the quality and the quantity of their links, the ones on top have the highest. So that's why I think, but again, I am biased. My company started with selling BacklinkBuild, so, but anyway, I hope maybe I proved it to you. All right, so that hopefully got us kind of in that same page of why are backlinks important. Now I'm going to look at the backlinks I started selling 13 years ago compared to today. It's one of those things that, you understand the present by looking at the past. Then I'll look at 2023 and 10 powerful link building strategies for 2023 and then look into the future. Any questions on any of the slides I showed so far? Cool. Okay, so 13 years ago, it was very, very easy to rank high in Google. There was software called XRummer, called GSA SiteRank, that if you get this software and you play around with it, even if you're a 13-year-old kid, you play around with it for 1-2 hours, you could get 1,000 links to your website and you could get a page ranking high on Google within a week or two, right? That's how powerful it was. And many times it's completely automated. As in, you say, hey, here's my keyword, and I'm looking at this page rank, and here's my website, and here's my anchor text, and you press go, and all of a sudden, it's just looking for these forums and comments and places that could find a place or link. And either it's fully automated where it actually goes in and comments for you, or it just gives you a very strong link list. Here is 100 places that probably you could easily get a link from. They're all page rank 5 and above. And then, again, what my company did is after this, we got this, list of really high value pages that we could get a link on very easily. Then I would have first it was me, that eventually I hired people to go in and place my clients' links on it. It was very automated. Today's world, surprisingly people still use this. Even when I was researching, kind of like, hey, I want to make sure that I'm all up to date in giving this presentation, and I'm watching these videos, a lot of people are still talking about it. XRummer and GSA SiteRank and SCNuke and all these just, quite frankly, spamming software, and people say, hey, look, I got my stuff ranking really high, and rather not surprisingly, they don't even review the website, and chances are, if what they're saying is true, if it actually got ranked really high, it's going to drop just as fast as it went up. So Google became a lot more sophisticated and really anti-spam, and it makes sense. Google saw this trend happening. They said, we got to stop this. This can't be a ranking factor. So in today's world, full automation, don't do it. It doesn't work unless, I don't know, you're creating websites every week, and just playing that game, but really you shouldn't do that. In today's world, spamming gets you penalized, and now it's automation assisted strategies is best. So things like Ahrefs and SEMrush, they still give you that really powerful, here's some links that you could possibly get for your website. So that's kind of that automation piece. and then you manually say, hey, what's the strategy for me to get placed on this page? 13 years ago, you could get links from 1,000 social networking websites. These websites don't really exist anymore. And now all of a sudden it got condensed to these main social media platforms. And today what's looked at, and this is actually very little and indirect, is social signals. Not a big ranking factor. Some argue it's even not a ranking factor at all, and it's all just indirect benefit. Hey, if you actually have big presence on Instagram, on Twitter, then someone might see your website, see your material, and then go and blog about it, and then blogging about it gives you a link, gives you a mention, and that gives you the benefit, not necessarily the tweet. Others say that it still is a ranking factor. Google actually doesn't publish this, so a lot of this is, yeah, there's some structure to experiments, but even if you look at the experiments that's done and you look at scientifically, there's so many extraneous variables that all of them is still just, you take the best guess. So social signals maybe is a minor factor, maybe just an indirect one. Before directory submission was very big, there's these services. I saw these services that I would list your website on 1,000 directories. And it was a whole little market, little small ecosystem that you could go and create a directory website very easily. There are scripts out there, there's copycat scripts. Within an hour you could create a directory website, you could get a high page rank on it, you can even sell placements on it. So all of a sudden there's these thousands of directory websites. Now, 13 years later, the strategy is actually pretty similar, but a lot of these generic directories, they just don't work anymore, right? They're not on Google. And really the way I see it is any site that was made just for Google isn't going to have much going for it, right? So now the directory you want to be in is something like Yelp. Hey, it's a directory, but it's actually a niche directory. It offers more than just a directory. You want to be on, say Uber, right? You could add your website to Uber. Again, Uber, not really directory. That's definitely not its main function. Uber's main function is not Google, right? But it has a directory feature, and hey, your business should be on it, especially if you have a physical location in Uber's case. And I put here Yext. It's actually pretty crazy how big of this market got. Yext is a public company. Maybe their stock isn't doing so great recently, but it's a public company that still its core offering is just to list you on directories. So this is how big of a marketplace this is. There's a lot of smaller, services that do that, but out of any, if you were to pay for one, Yext is probably the best. Manually is probably better though. It's better than going through Yext. But Yext actually has some exclusive directories you can only get through Yext. So they have a little bit of competitive advantage there. Okay, 13 years ago, article submission was a thing. Very similar, you could kind of see the trend here. There's these article websites that were made just for Google. They weren't niche, they didn't provide anything else. It wasn't like a fishing magazine with a directory for fishing providers. This was just, hey, I have articles about everything, and they try to get a high page rank on Google to be valuable. Then they can actually, charge for those articles that you submit. They had articles about absolutely everything. They used to be a big thing until Google changed its algorithm. They saw this happening, they saw this trend, and they said, hey, this kind of article farms, yeah, that's not really good for the user. So that got hit. Blog networks used to be a thing also, where people would just have these dozens of blog websites. They link them all around. They create this one powerful network that you could tap into. Again, Google saw this, you're trying to manipulate us, you're really not adding any extra value. That's not a thing anymore either. But similar, yes, blogging is a thing. So maybe different websites, but the whole concept of you write an article and you say, hey, this article is written by me, I'm the subject matter expert, here's my website. Maybe you could add a few links inside the actual article with the right anchor text. Again, it changed, not so much though, quite frankly, 13 years ago, right? All right, so what are the takeaways from 13 years ago, right? That's a lifetime in the SEO space to today. Links are still links, right? So many people say our links are dead, they're not important. If I got $1 every time someone said that, I have maybe $100, right? A lot of people say that, a lot of people ask that, especially in my space. Clients see this article, then they ask, oh wait, is this even still important? Yeah, it's still important, right? These articles are still gonna come out, the links are still links. They were 13 years ago, they are today. Sites built for Google, yeah, they don't survive, right? You might get that initial big tick and it might look really good and promising, hey, this is perfect, it has all the right metrics. Yeah, well, if they manipulate these metrics, just for Google, and if that's the case, these sites, they're just not gonna survive the next Google update, or maybe in 3 algorithm updates, Google will catch on. 100% automation is a short-term strategy. Again, you still might see it today. It's like fool's gold. Don't do it. It's going to get you high and it's going to get you low just as fast. And then relevancy is important. The stuff that doesn't work, from my list before, that's the stuff that was just like very general, right? It's not a specific niche. It's a catch-all. Before my first offering was you get 45 links and they're all page rank 5 and higher. I didn't look for relevancy. I just looked for authority. I don't care where I'm getting your links from, but I know it's an authoritative page. And that worked really well, incredibly well, too well, right? That was the problem, right? So again, if you have a fishing store or if you sell shoes, I could get you links from the same exact place and I could get you high on Google, no matter what keyword you give me. And again, looking back at it, like, okay, that shouldn't have worked. Good job Google for kind of figuring that out and saying, hey, we're going to change a little bit and we're going to make the internet a better place. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about strategies for this year. What are some powerful backlinks for 2023, and hopefully ones that aren't going to work just for 2023, but will work 13 years in the future. So links you get today, given those sites are still up and they still exist, will benefit you for 13 years. And that's probably one of the things that I love the most about SEO and link building and SEO in general. A lot of these other advertising channels, like pay-per-click and other paid channels, you pay, maybe you get a return, maybe you don't, and that's it, right? You stop paying, they shut off the faucet, you stop getting traffic. With SEO, you build upon it. So it's not a matter of will I get ROI, it's a matter of when will I get ROI, right? It's not if, it's a matter of when. And whether it's content that you're investing in or link building, it just builds upon itself. Again, with the exception of, you got this really powerful link and then this website just doesn't exist anymore. Okay, so you'll get some drop off there. But for all intents and purposes, the links that you build today could help you in years in the future. Any questions on what I've said so far before I go into this? Ooh. Competitor links. So there's one strategy, and this is something we baked into our core services really early on. Like I said, if there's one thing that always works, is this very flexible thing that you're always just looking at your competitors and you're just seeing the links that they have, right? And competitors, you could look at competitors two ways. Number one, you could look at your competitors, your actual direct competitors, and if you run a business, you probably know them very well, right? And then there's number two, the competitors for your exact keyword. Here's the keyword I want to rank for. Here's the top 3 guys that are ranking for this specific keyword. And there's a lot of tools out there. This one is by far my favorite. And I have no affiliation with Ahrefs, so they don't pay me an affiliate commission, anything like that. I wish they did. Ahrefs is probably my favorite SEO tool, very, very powerful. And this is one of my favorite tools inside their tool set. It's called Link Intersect. And it's very simple. What you do is you put in on top, I think you can put even more, I forget if it's just 3, but you put in, say, 3 hey, here's 3 guys that are ranking 1, 2, and 3 for this keyword, right? And here's my website. And what it does is going to show you, here's the links that they have and the ones that you don't. And it intersects them, so it'll show you, here's the links that 2 out of 3 of them have. Here's the links that 3 out of 3 of them have. And usually if they're linking to more than one of your competitors, it's easier to get that link, right? If it's linking to, you might see one like, okay, this guy, got featured on CNN, and no matter what I do, I'm just not going to get that link, right? But a lot of times you say, 3 of the top 3 guys are linked from this website or this specific web page. Let me go in and let me see how can I get this link. And more often than not, you could actually get that link. Not right away, it's a long process, you need a lot of outreach, you need a lot of follow-up. But again, if there's one thing that will always work, it's this, because naturally, the longevity is built into it. If you're always putting in the guys that always rank the highest, even if the actual type of link changes, this will always work dynamically. And again, this has been a core of our link building strategies for the company and will continue to be. All right, next one's a little bit more lucrative is buying domains. I do it a little bit differently than most people do it though. A lot of people, when they say buying domains, there's these websites out there that list expired domains. So you go in and you put in a keyword, say I'm an SEO agency, so I go in and I say, okay, my keyword is SEO, and I want to see other SEO websites that are expired, right? They're not even exist anymore, and I'm going to buy them. And it's good for SEO. If you do it in scale for SEO, Google might look at it and say, hey, you just bought 10,000 domains, hey, you're trying to manipulate us. But if you do it in a smaller scale, it's a little bit more logical, it's totally fine. And what I do when I find those domains, I put into tools like Ahrefs, and I look at their backlinks. hey, do they have links, and are they spammy links, or are they actually good links? And again, for my agency, we do SEO, we also do web design. A lot of times, web design agencies, they go out of business, right? But they actually built websites before, and on the footer of the websites they built, it said design by, right? And people still click that. And a lot of times, the sites that they design, especially if they look good, I'm like, this is awesome, right? Someone's going to go to this website that these guys built, not even me. They're going to click it. Forget about SEO benefits for a minute. I don't care if it helps me rank high organically or not. They're going to get to my website, and I'm going to say, hey, yeah, these guys are out of business, but guess what? We do websites, and we could do one just that looks like this one. In fact, we could do even better, and all of a sudden you get that business, and I've gotten it. And for us, a client for web design is $10,000 plus. A domain is $10 per year, right? So I look at this and say, hey, I could buy 100 domains. If that gives me one client a year, that's well worth the investment. Hey, if I actually get SEO benefit from it too, awesome. And I mentioned, again, there's a list of expired domains. Again, very, very powerful. But what I like doing also is, if in your niche there's directories out there, right? So say you're an affiliate network, right? There's so many directories of other affiliate networks. What I would do is I would go through their list of affiliate network sites, right? And just, well, if you have to, you can manually click it, but if you're savvy, you could also scrape it and say, hey, here's the 1,000 affiliate networks that are listed in this affiliate network directory, and then you can write another script or use another tool to see, hey, which of these are expired domains, right? And I did that. We even do that for local businesses. For example, one's a doctor, and what we did is we went on Yelp, and looked at other doctors in his area in New Jersey, where we're based out of. He's also a friend, and not all our clients are in New Jersey; they're not all local, but this one happens to be a friend as well. So that's why I work directly with him. And we went on Yelp, looked at his specific, niche of doctor. He's a podiatrist in the area, and we went, and there was like 20 pages of podiatrists, on Yelp, right? And we went and we clicked every single one. Manually, it took us like 20 minutes, right? And we found like 15 doctors in this area. They're retired now. They still have a Yelp listing. They still have, sorry, are we back? Okay. They still have a Yelp listing. People are actually clicking them, but they're retired. They let their domain expire. We want that, right? So not only did it help with SEO, and you do a 3-1 redirect to your website, but it also helped actually getting patients. You say, hey, I'm actually looking for Dr. So-and-so. Oh, actually they retired, but we're in your area. Would you like to book an appointment with us? Yeah, sure, right? Incredible return on investment. All right, another one is link baiting, right? It's a very general term, but basically it's creating content that other people want to link for. In this example that we did, we built a website for precious metals. It's an e-commerce store. They sell precious metals, and they sell it on the spot market price. So they look at the price of gold, and they sell it for 2% over the current right now market price of gold. And we already had this data. We built it into their website. It wasn't an easy project, but we did it. And we said, hey, listen, we have this data. What if we build a graph for other websites to embed? And why we knew that was a good strategy is we saw that all these other websites were embedding kid codes graph, which looked absolutely horrible. And I said, listen, we build a better graph, we let other people embed it, and then we reach out to everyone who has the really ugly kid code graph and say, hey, listen, you have this graph on your website, it looks really, really bad. Why don't you use our graph, look at all the extra functionality you could add. Maybe if you want to customize colors, we'll let you do that too. And that was a very lucrative strategy. And a lot of times when you do things like looking at competitor links, you look at this and say, hey, they got this link because they had this cool widget. That's why they had this cool tool. That's why they got a link. And then you actually have to develop this tool, develop a better tool, and then you do an outreach, say, hey, use my tool. Cool. Next one is partnerships. And there's this really cool website called PartnerBase, I believe. PartnerBase, and there's a few out there that you could actually filter to, and you enter a keyword. Here's my keyword, and you say, I want to find all these websites with this keyword and you can even say that have a partners page, right? And then again, same story. Guys, I think see the pattern already. You go and reach out, and you say, hey, how can I be a partner of yours, right? What do you actually look in that partner relationship? And a lot of it is just a typical marketing thing. Hey, you link us, we'll link you, we'll do a link exchange. How about we do a webinar together? What if we write blogs together? I mean, again, it depends on your niche and if these are all relevant, but yeah, really cool tool out there, PartnerBase. There's others out there that are very similar. A lot of these you will also find through competitor links, but you can find it this way as well. All right, next one is get on top list even if you must pay. So paying for links is kind of like a controversial thing because again, a lot of people did that for the purpose of manipulating Google. Then Google came out with this thing to say, hey, fine, if you buy links, you add this little tag to your link and you say, no follow. That means, hey, the company paid for this link, so don't give them necessarily the full credit for this link or no credit for this link. They just paid for it, right? So theoretically, it should have no value if you bought this link. It actually does. Google says it doesn't, but if you look at the studies and we've done our own, those links actually still have weight. But say even if they don't, what we've seen is a lot of people, they reference this, and then you get featured in other lists that copy the original list, right? And here's a perfect example, right? If you Google, top SEO companies, right, you'll see Clutch, just a very niche directory in our space, and we pay lots of money to be on top of top SEO companies, top digital marketing companies on Clutch, and again, theoretically no Google value for that link specifically, but guess what? Then Forbes came out with an article, and, we didn't pay for this. I would have paid. If Forbes came to me and say, hey, listen, we're writing an article about this, pay me 50 grand to be number one, I'll say, okay, no, where do I send the money? But that one we got for free. So Forbes came out with the article, top SEO companies, and if you look at the Clutch director and you look at Forbes, they copied Clutch, right? And so many out there. We look at, hey, who actually links to us? We didn't even get these links, and a lot of these like top X companies, right? They copy from someone else, right? No one actually. Someone at Forbes didn't actually buy SEO services from 100 companies to actually, do a good study on this. They did research online. They went to Google, typed that in, clicked the first guy, whether it's paid or not, and then they used that data to create their own list, which is now a lot more trustworthy, not paid, very high value link. So again, get in the top list, even if you don't pay for it, even if you have to pay for it, someone will then reference that list, and you'll get that organic lifetime link. Next is create your own listicle. So this is one we created, top virtual reception services for small businesses. And we did that because it was a nice complementary service to us. Hey, we share the same audience, right? We're both targeting small businesses, but I'm not offering virtual reception services. I don't want to. Those guys are not offering SEO services. What a good partnership. So we wrote this article. This itself ranked very well, actually. So if you go to Google and you type, maybe not Portugal, but at least in the US, top virtual reception companies, virtual reception services for small businesses, we rank very high. What happened is a lot of these companies, they reach out to us, right? They say, hey, you rank us number 12, can you rank us number 1 or 2? A lot of companies that, we didn't put in that list at all reached out to us and say, hey, how can we get on this list, right? Because they searched top virtual reception companies, they found us, they reached out and say, hey, we're new, you're not there, would you consider adding us? And we create these partnerships, and we said, yeah, sure. We want to know a little bit about your services. Make sure you're actually a good, virtual receptionist company or service. But we said, hey, can we do some exchange? And we did. So, all of a sudden we get guest blog posts on Smith.ai. The guys we ended up, putting number 1. We get affiliate commission if people click it, right? We did a webinar together, and actually we like them so much that we started using them ourselves. So, that's really the win-win-win. But again, yeah, if it makes sense, if you have, these other companies you look at and you say, hey, this is a good relationship, we're not competing services, we're complementary, we share that same audience, right? Sometimes reaching out to them directly, say, hey, not for nothing, want to partner up, let's talk, they're not going to answer, but all of a sudden, this brings them to you, right? You put this online, it gets ranked, they're going to come to you, or you could reach out to them, hey, I just, made this top list, top 30, I put you there, I didn't put you there, would you like to be there? Let's talk and make that exchange. Haro, help a reporter out. Yeah, so this is a really cool tool out there. So you subscribe to this, and there's 2 sides to this. There's reporters, and then there's the people who want to be in articles. So say you're a reporter and you're writing about how COVID really affected small businesses, right? And again, you're a writer for Forbes, and that's that article you're trying to create. So you go out there and you say, hey, I'm looking for entrepreneurs who will talk to us about this, or maybe entrepreneurs who just had to lay off people, and I want to hear about the struggles of it. So again, if you're a reporter, you use this tool to get sources, and then from the other side you come in and say, hey, well, this is me, I'm a source, I could help you out. And they could set up kind of triggers and alerts and keywords and say, hey, anytime someone's writing an article about marketing, I want to know, right? So they email me, they say, hey, here, this guy's writing an article about marketing, here's the title here's the subject that they're writing about, here's the prompt that they need help with. And you go in and you just answer these, and sometimes you actually get in these really, really high value news publication sites. Again, it's really a win-win. It's a nice, really cool tool. A lot of reporters use this. Guest blog post. Yeah, so this is one I kind of covered in other places, and this is probably the go-to one. Hey, how do you get links? You write a blog post, you get it published on another blog, and get a link back to your site. It's something that probably will always work. And there's different ways to get it. And I talked about some. There's also ask your current partners, associations, software you even use. We use a software for screen tracking called Time Doctor. They have a very authoritative website, they have a blog, and we come to them and we're like, listen, we pay you $1,000 per month. Can you reference me to who controls your blog? We'd love to contribute to your blog. Hey, I understand that's not the service that we're paying for, but we're a high value client. Would you consider doing that? And more often than not, they push in touch. Why not, right? So go through your current relationships, even guys that you meet in the conference. Again, you share the same audience. You guys both have a blog. Perfect. Social media, communities also. Communities, especially Slack communities right now, they're very active. So again, you enter your niche. Say you're in the affiliate space. You say this certain niche affiliate network, Slack community. And you can find a community of like-minded individuals that has other benefits of being part of the community. But one of those things you can always come in and say, hey, who wants to do co-marketing together? Do you guys have a team? Do you have someone in marketing? I have someone in marketing. You have someone in marketing. Let's pair them up. Let's see what they could do together. If you're not competing services, but you share an audience, that's perfect. And then you can always just use Google, right? You could be a little clever in the way you ask Google. You could, again, enter your niche, guest blog post guidelines, or in URL guest dash post, right? There's lots of ways you could kind of use Google cleverly to find guest post opportunities. And again, lesson from the past, watch out for, build for Google sites. Hey, does this site exist just for Google, or are they an actual association? Are they an actual software? Do they provide something and they have a blog, or do they have this like general blog and they're just trying to like sell ad space and do a post on it? And again, even if they're ranking high now, that's not going to last. Really look for the what else do they actually offer. It's not a just, we're here, we exist just to get high in Google. Skip those. Cool. One is tracking mentions. This is a cool one too. Google Alerts, that's a free tool you should definitely use. Even not for link building, you go in there and you put in your company name, put in your own name too. Anytime someone mentions, your name, your company name, you'll get an alert. And then also you can put in your competitors' names, right? Anytime someone mentions your competitor, you want to get alerted and you go, okay, can I get a spot here too? Can they talk about me next? BuzzSumo is also, this one's paid, but it does the same thing. It also looks at social media. BuzzSumo is a little bit better than Google Alerts, but so if you can, use both. But Google Alerts itself. I actually got a Google Alert this morning. It said SmartSites was on this report of top UX companies. It was already this morning, a few hours ago I got it. It was Omnicom, SmartSites, and guess what? I look at this list and I'm like, I know where you got this list from. It's one of the top lists I pay for. So thank you, right? And they mentioned SmartSites, but they don't link to it. And guess what? I'm going to reach out and say, hey, you mentioned SmartSites. I was wondering, would you guys want to do a little bit more for us? We'd love to talk to you. You could get some inside information about us. It could help your article, right? Your report, and then it will help us as well. And last one here, I have interviews and podcasts, right? Podcasts are one of these trending things. Here, you have on the screen is Alex. My brother, he does a lot of interviews and podcasts, so you can go in and you say, Alex, go and Google Alex Melen interview, Alex Melen podcast, and you can say, okay, where has he been? And then contact those places and say, hey, I saw you, you do interviews and stuff. Would you like to interview me? Would you like to interview someone else? And again, if you know your space and there's some personalities in your space, right? You take that big, name personality and you put it in Google and see all the podcasts they're in, see all the interviews they're in. And again, a lot of these are win-win relationships because a lot of these like blogs and these places that publish interviews, right? They want that content, right? They want you to reach out and they want to interview you. It's such easy content for them to get. They want to rank for your name. You know what I mean? You want that extra link, that extra reference. It's such a win-win relationship. So again, put people in your space, see their podcasts, see their interviews, and then try to get yourself. Okay, I'm not going to answer those questions because I see I don't have too much time left, so I'm going to get to AI and link building, and I'll take questions after that. So that was all the press, and let's look in the future. And I'm just going to give some use case of ChatGPT. For those of you who don't know, ChatGPT, very, very powerful artificial intelligence that you could use. It's a chatbot, very, very simple to use, very good for general terms. And the question is, how can it help you for link building, if at all? And there's some places it can and some places it can't. So first, we'll talk about what's possible. It's really great for content. You know, and for those of you who were in Alex's session, you also heard that Google said, listen, we're not even going to penalize you for it. You know, if you get good content, use ChatGPT, you know, all the power to you, no problem, use it, right? So it's really good for content. In terms of link building, you know, how can it help you with link building? It can help you maybe write a guest blog post, right, things like that. It's good for communication, especially where, you know, say where you're trying to get the link is not the first language of your employees. Right, so hey, you want to get links from these, you know, American publications, but you're from this other country, so your grammar's not the best, or the virtual assistant you hired to help you with this doesn't have the best grammar. ChatGPT is really, really useful for that, because all of a sudden, you know, they will look like absolutely, like, you know, perfect, you know, professionals in English if they use ChatGPT. And again, you could go out, you know, just general prompts of, hey, how do I reach out to this person and ask for this thing? Or it could help you with translating, etc. It could help you with ideas. So ChatGPT, really good for communication, and really good for development. So coding is probably, I love ChatGPT. You know, my workspace has 4 monitors, and ChatGPT is always open on half a monitor. You know, so basically anything I do now, I go to ChatGPT and I run. Well, not everything, but I use ChatGPT a lot. Development is something that it helps the most in. And again, you know, if you're doing some complex link building strategies, you could have ChatGPT help you with it instead of hiring a programmer or looking for software for it. Google Apps Script, very powerful, very, you know, it's a free tool, so you can write code in Google Apps Scripts. You don't need hosting, you don't need a server environment, you don't need to run about Amazon Cloud. You could use Google Apps Scripts, and then you can use ChatGPT to help you write really powerful things, and you launch it in seconds. You press go, and it does these crazy things for you that you need, like the server IT guy and a programmer before. Now you don't. And this one I said, write me a Google Apps script that takes all the URLs in column A and lists the external links that each URL has. And again, Google will actually visit all these websites and could take out all the URLs. So again, my example before is, hey, you know, look at this directory and see if there's any sites that this directory lists that no longer exist, right? And maybe buy that domain. This could help you with it. All right, what's not possible, at least not yet. ChatGPT itself cannot actually access third-party websites. So you can't go to ChatGPT and say, hey, show me all the links I could get. You know, what links are good. They're going to give you a generic answer. They're not going to answer that. But they could help you write a Google Apps script that does that, but it itself won't. It can help you with complex problems. Again, it can help you with like very general, specific things you need help with. But if you go and say, hey, I want to make my website faster, it's going to tell you, check all these 10 other things. You know, then you could check these 10 other things and maybe ask it, and maybe it'll help you. But complex problems, still ChatGPT is not great at. Maybe it will be later. It was actually funny, when it was just coming out, there was an iteration of it that it did access third-party websites. I went to it and I said, hey, can you write me a tweet about the last 20 reviews that I got on Clutch? And I want that each review is one tweet. And actually did that. Next day, I go back and say the same question and said, oh, sorry, we can't access third-party website. We're just a language model. And I'm like, oh, but you could yesterday. Come on. You know, AI should be getting smarter, not the other way. So, yeah, I mean, they stopped it. Probably they'll reopen it in the future. Maybe, you know, Premium Pro Plus will have it. I don't know. But right now, it doesn't, as of today. I don't think it'll ever replace SEO software. Yeah, a lot of these things, like Ahrefs and SEMrush are my favorite. There's a lot of other tools, too. They've organized things very, very well. So again, ChatGPT could help you with a list of keywords, but this other tool will do better. We'll show you the volume of these keywords. So again, it's really good when it's like generalistic, like, oh, give me some ideas. I don't want to look at keywords. I don't want this like heavy research. I just want you to give me these 10 ideas, or here's my keyword. Give me 10 ideas of what I could write it that targets this keyword. It's good at, but I don't see it replacing SEO software. Okay, last. Yeah, this is my last slide. As content becomes more AI generated, backlinks will become more and more important, right? I see links becoming more important, not less important. And again, it's kind of that same argument before that, hey, before you need your, you need mobile sites, you need a developer to make a mobile site, it needs to be fast, you need a developer to make it fast. Now all these things are kind of done for you, right? People know all these things. right? So all of a sudden, this checklist, everyone's starting in that same starting point, on that track for you. So all of a sudden, what's left? Hey, content is left, but guess what? Now with ChatGPT, a lot of people are going to have very similar content, right? They're going to go to ChatGPT, maybe they're going to say, hey, make this clever, make this not clever, 1,000 words, 500 words, and maybe they're going to add some anecdote themselves, some images. But all in all, I think with ChatGPT, content will become more similar to itself. Hey, what's left, right? Your websites are all fast, they're all secure. You both use ChatGPT to get content, so that's pretty solid. What other ranking factors is left? Backlinks, right? So that will be the difference between ranking number 1 or on the 10th page, depending on the keyword. So I see it becoming more important. And that's all I got for you today. Thanks for listening. Questions?
Got time for one? Or?
Yeah.
Reviving an old blog that at one time had a page ranking of 6, like in 2011 or 10 or something. I still have it. All the links are there. What general strategies to revive it?
Yeah, you should, especially if the links are still alive, right? It had a page rank of 6, 10 years ago. Then the next question is, okay, the links that I have, are they still alive? If all those links are broken, there's probably not much to it. But if some of those links are alive, definitely bring it back up.
And any specific, any general ideas on how to do that, content-wise, or?
If it's indexed and you go to Wayback Machine and that content is still relevant, you could bring up the site already had. If not, you could either write something new for that, or just redirect it to the closest possible thing you have.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Other questions? Thank you for the question. All right, looks like no more. Thank you guys.
Thank you.